Hi, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Titans the day after. We're doing it the morning of the wild card playoff game between the Tennessee Titans and the Baltimore Ravens. We'll break down the matchup. We'll take you all the way up until we get the inactive list to see who's playing and who's not playing today. We'll look at some of the key statistics in this ball game and look at what the Titans will have to do to avoid an upset, or actually to pull the upset, as they are a 3.5-point home underdog today to the Baltimore Ravens. We'll have it all for you next on K-More Sports, a special edition, Titans the day after playoff edition. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the show. Boy, this is the day we've been waiting for ever since last Sunday. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't get very much sleep last night. I had to go get me a little caramel to try to get a little caffeine in my body to try to make it through this day. It's going to be a long day of football. We had a great afternoon of football on yesterday. The Indianapolis Colts, our AFC South buddies, lost to the Buffalo Bills on yesterday. But today is the day. It's the Tennessee Titans, the Baltimore Ravens, for the third time in a calendar year. And that's going to be very important because the Ravens are almost now like a divisional opponent. They're a team that we see as much as we see the Indianapolis Colts, the Houston Texans, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we'll talk about the matchups today. Around 10:30, once the inactive list comes out, we'll take a look at who's in, who's out. We'll look at the keys to the game, and we'll just break it all down for you. And we'll take you up probably until around 10:45, 11 a.m. before the national broadcast come on and to get their input, because we know in their shows, all they're going to talk about is Lamar Jackson. Can Lamar Jackson win a playoff game? What does it mean if Lamar Jackson doesn't win a playoff game? Well, all we're concerned about here as Titans fans is, can the Tennessee Titans go further than they went last year, which was the AFC Championship game? Now, before we get started today, guys, I want you all to do me a huge favor. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the like button, and go ahead and hit that notification bell so that you'll know the next time we have a show. And yes, I got the beanie on today. We're actually expecting snow down here in Southeast Texas today. So I got the beanie on this morning just in case it gets a little frigid inside the house. But let's go ahead and start off by taking a look at who's returning in this ball game that was not here for the matchup a few weeks ago when these teams met. The big men are back today. Roger Saffold, he did not play in the game that we played against the Ravens, the overtime win we had against them a few weeks ago. We had Aaron Brewer as our backup left guard. He did a very good job in that ball game, but Aaron Brewer will be out today. We'll talk about him in just a few moments. But Roger Saffold will start today, and he'll be going up against a couple of real beefy guys that did not play against us last time. Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams, both of those big defensive ends, will be back for the Baltimore Ravens today. And what does that do for their defense? Well, they believe it helps them stop Derrick Henry. They think with those big guys up front that they can slow down the train that is our 2,000-yard rusher. So it's going to be to our offensive line. Ben Jones, Dennis Kelly, Quisenberry, all of those guys are going to have to be much better today than they were in the previous game with the addition of those two guys for the Baltimore Ravens. So look for those guys to up front be very, very difficult to handle, but we should be able to take care of business on that end. Also, we got some really good news from the Titans earlier in the week as kicker Stephen Godzkowski is going to be back today. We're going to pull up some information on him. He was activated earlier this week from the COVID-19 list, so he will be active today for the ball game. Godzkowski has been on a hot streak of late. It's been a while since he missed a kick, so it's very important to this team to have him back. Sam Sloman, we give all homage to him to hitting that big kick, the division-winning kick against the Houston Texans last week at NRG Stadium. But for me, that kick was a little bit too close for comfort. So Godzkowski, he's had an up and down season. It's been more up of late. And of course, he'll be facing Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens. And that we all know, especially University of Texas grad, one of the best clutch kickers in NFL history. So it should be a pretty good matchup today between the two kickers, Stephen Godzkowski back for the Titans, and then also Justin Tucker for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, one thing that I always like to do on my show is that I have a segment that we call the good, the bad, the concerning. And that is something where we talk about what are the keys, what were the focal points of the ball game during that time. But for the Titans today, they have a couple of things that they have to be wary of. First of all, we talked about the good. The good was Stephen Godzkowski being activated, being available for this ball game today. Special teams is always huge in a playoff game. We saw that from Indianapolis yesterday. They had a critical short field goal that the rookie kicker missed, pretty much ended up costing them the ball game. So Godzkowski and Brett Kern are going to have to be on point this afternoon. Those are the good things. The bad today, we mentioned it earlier, Aaron Brewer on the COVID list. He's our backup left guard. He's been very instrumental in our lineup this season whenever Roger Saffold has had to miss a game, have to miss a series or two. We saw Saffold go out last week against Houston. Aaron Brewer came in, did a really, really good job. He got called for that one holding penalty that really wasn't his fault. But overall, he has done an excellent job as a backup left guard, and he will miss today's game. So keep an eye on that. If Roger Saffold has to leave this game for any amount of time, it could be very, very difficult for that offensive line going up against that stout Baltimore Raven defense. The concerning for me, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown did not practice at all this week. He told the media late in the week, Thursday or Friday, I believe, that if he has an ounce of breath in his body, that he will play today. So we expect A.J. Brown to play. How much he plays, how effective he is, that will be the key. We've seen A.J. have to go in and out of ball games several times this year. He had to leave the Houston game early last week. Luckily, he came back in, and he was the difference maker in us getting the victory last week. So A.J. Brown's injury situation, something to watch early on during the ball game today. Now we're going to look at why A.J. Brown is so important to this ball club. He and Corey Davis, surprisingly, to some of us, not to me, but to some people in the media, these guys are among the league leaders in efficiency, according to Pro Football Talk. If you look at this here, and we'll clear the screen for you to see, A.J. Brown and Corey Davis among the highest graded wide receivers in the playoffs. Only Devontae Adams grades higher than A.J. Brown. And then you have Stephon Diggs and Allen Robinson III of the Chicago Bears also in that mix. So you see how important A.J. Brown and Corey Davis are to this offense. And Corey, he's been struggling the last couple of weeks. Of course, on that Sunday night game against Green Bay and Devontae Adams, Corey Davis did not have a catch, and he had a couple of critical drops last week against Houston. But don't put Corey aside. He had a huge third down catch on that second to last drive that kept that drive alive and allowed the Titans to go in, briefly take the lead before the Texans came back with their tying field goal. And then, of course, we know A.J. Brown caught that big long bomb to set up the game-winning field goal at that time. But it was a huge, huge win for us. But A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, those are going to be some critical guys today to look at. So we're going to get your comments in. If you guys are in the house, leave your comments, leave your questions so we can talk about this ball game. We have about 15 minutes before we find out who the inactives are going to be for this ball game today. We may get a special guest the second half of the show. One of my buddies told me that he may be able to drop in. I know he's preparing his own show, so I'm not going to give it away, but we may have a special guest coming up here shortly. Kay Hauser is in the house, says his wife is a Ravens fan. It's going to be intense in their home today. Hey, man, I know exactly what you mean because my wife is a Saints fan. So we're going to have a long, long day of football here in the K-More Sports household. I got the TV in the early window from 12 to 3, and then the wife will have the TV in the afternoon window as she'll be watching her Saints as they take on the Chicago Bears. We're going to look at the keys to the game coming up here shortly. But want you guys to get your questions in. Let me know what you guys think about this football game here today. As we mentioned, Aaron Brewer is on the COVID list. He will not play today. Stephen Godzkowski, he is available. He will be available for the Titans today. And then, of course, as we mentioned, coming up at 10:30, we'll have a look at the Titans and the Ravens inactives for the ball game here today. Now, I want to dive into some numbers that I was able to find that I think would be very interesting to you guys. And we're going to pull those up on the screen here. We're going to look at both of these teams offensively and how they compare to each other. These are two of the better offenses in the NFL. And when we look at them here, let's get this off the screen so you guys can exactly see what's going on. The Titans and Ravens, and we're going to blow these numbers up just so you can see them. Give me one moment to get those pulled up here for you. I'm going to blow these numbers up. There we go. And we'll move this guy. All right, so you look at these numbers. The Titans, number 3 in offense. Offense that is actually statistically better than the Baltimore Ravens in most categories. The key statistic is the passing yards. The Ravens are dead last in the NFL in passing, only 171 yards per game. Why? Because they're first in rushing, nearly 192 yards per ball game. You're going to see on the next slide that I show you that Tennessee, obviously, and we all know this, they're the worst pass defense in the NFL. But why this is such a favorable matchup for the Titans is that the Ravens are the worst pass offense in the NFL. So they will not be able to do to us what most teams have done, and that is destroy us through the air. If we can hold the Ravens to under 200 yards passing, and we can control their running game to around 150, 160, then the Titans will have a very good shot at winning this football game. Another key statistic, look down at the bottom of your screen, third down percentage. Both of these teams are excellent on converting third downs. The Ravens are at nearly 49%, the Titans at 46%. What does that mean? Both teams, when they get in third down situations, they're able to keep the chains moving. They're able to keep their offenses on the field and hopefully keep their defenses off the field. So those are some very critical numbers to consider when you're watching this football game. How many times can each team's offense stay on the field, move the football, and not allow their defense to have to be on the field for a significant amount of time? One stat that is not shown is time of possession. The Titans only keep the football on average 28 minutes per game. The Ravens, on the other hand, keep the football for 31 minutes per game. So over the course of the season, the Ravens have done a much better job at controlling the football, controlling the time of possession, which has helped their defense become more effective. So for the Titans today, they're going to have to do a much better job making sure that we don't have 3 and outs, making sure that we get off to a fast start. And if the Ravens score, we're going to have to match them score for score. Now, one thing that I did notice in the ball game previously against the Ravens is that, if you guys remember, we struggled in the first half of that ball game. We trailed 14-10 at halftime, and then even early in the third quarter, we were down 21-10. What the Ravens did defensively is that they flooded the middle of the field. They did not allow Corey Davis and A.J. Brown to catch passes on the play-action pass across the middle of the field. Tannehill, in that earlier game this season, had a stretch where the Titans missed about 5 or 6 consecutive pass plays. But Arthur Smith did an excellent job at halftime. What the Titans did in the second half of that game is that instead of Corey and AJ going across the middle, they would fake like they were going across the middle, and then they would break back outside for corner routes, outside routes, 7 routes, and they got the defensive backs of Baltimore very out of sync. And that's when Tannehill was able to dime them up, making passes outside the numbers, outside towards the sideline. That's one thing that Lamar Jackson cannot do. He struggles very much trying to throw the ball outside the numbers. So if the Titans also can control the middle of the field, not allow Lamar Jackson to throw the ball in the middle, force him to throw it outside like we've done on the previous 2 games. And for Tannehill and Arthur Smith, it's making those adjustments because, guys, now, as I mentioned, this is just like a division game now. Both teams know each other very well. There aren't going to be any surprises. There aren't going to be any tricks. But which coordinators come up with the best game plans today, that's really going to determine who comes out on top in this football game this afternoon. Now, I'm going to pull up some of the defensive numbers so we can see how these teams stack up defensively against one another. And give me one moment to pull those numbers up for you. We got them right here. Let's get them up on the screen. All right, here we go. We're going to look at some of these defensive numbers that each ball club has. Now, of course, the key number for us, we can always drop all the way to the bottom of the screen. Third down efficiency. Baltimore, they're one of the best in the leagues. They only give up 34% conversion rate on third down to their opposition. For Tennessee, we know we've been dead last for most of the season. We finally dipped a hair under 52%, but we're still one of the worst in the history of football. But one thing that I want to point out about the third down numbers is that the Titans have actually gotten better as the season has gone on, particularly against their division opponents. In the last 8 games, in 4 of those games, the Titans faced divisional opponents. That would be Indy twice, Jacksonville, and also Houston. In those 4 games, the Titans only allowed a 40% conversion rate on third down. For the season, it's been about 52%. So what does that mean? That means that the Titans, the more familiar that they are with the team, the better they have done on third downs. Again, 4 of the last 8 games were divisional games. In those 4 games, the Titans only gave up a 40% conversion rate on third down. So the Ravens, they're almost like a divisional opponent now. So we're very familiar with them. We're very familiar with what they do. If the Titans can hold them to around a 40% conversion rate on third down, the Titans should have a very, very good chance of coming out on top in this football game this afternoon. So those are some of the key numbers that you want to look at as you're watching the game. Watch the third down conversion rate. Watch the time of possession. Which team is possessing the football, keeping their defense off the field. For the Titans offensively, watch where their pass plays are going. Are they going across the middle of the field, or are they going towards the boundaries, towards the outside? Is Tannehill going to be on target? I'm not sure what the weather is in Nashville. From what I understand, I think it's around 40 degrees. I think the weather's going to be pretty decent today. I'm not sure if there's going to be any rain or anything like that, not that I heard of. So those are the things that you want to watch for offensively from Tennessee here today. Let's see if we got any comments up in the comment section. Let's see. Kyla House. Derrick Henry needs Lamar as a fullback. Well, we had Earl Thomas as Derrick Henry's fullback last week. So we'll figure that out, and we'll figure out how to get those super chats in here as well, Kyle. I appreciate that, man. I'm still kind of new to the channel, so I have to get some of that information from Titan Upload and some of those guys. But if you guys want to drop some super chats in there, we would definitely appreciate that, and we'll definitely get that information for you. We're a few minutes away from finding out what the inactive list will be for this afternoon. If you're just popping in, of course, Aaron Brewer, our backup offensive guard, he will miss this game today because of COVID issues. Obviously, Stephen Godzkowski is back this afternoon as well. So we'll look at that. And then we're going to go ahead and while we're waiting on those inactives to come up, we're going to go ahead and dive into a couple of more numbers that I found for you guys that I think might be quite interesting to look at. Let's see here. The slow starts from the Tennessee Titans. We've talked about this before, and this is another key that you guys can look for today. The Titans obviously went 11-5 on the season. In 4 of those 5 losses, look how far behind the Titans got in those games. Pittsburgh, we trailed 14-0. Cincinnati, 10-0. Cleveland and Green Bay, 17-0, 19-0. So the start of the football games have been paramount for the Tennessee Titans. Another key number, last 8 games, in 7 of those games, the team that has scored first has won those football games. Again, in the Titans' last 8 games, in 7 of those games, the team that has scored first has won the football game. So another key, who wins the coin toss? If the Titans win the toss, Mike Vrabel better take the football and put his offense on the field and try to go down and score first. I don't want to see them deferring to the second half, putting our defense on the field first, because what we've seen time and time again, particularly in these 4 games, when the other team goes down and scores first, for whatever reason, it seems like our offense get nervous. They don't stick to whatever game plan they had coming out of the gate, and they don't respond. And then the other team will come down and backdoor a second score. And then all of a sudden you're down by 2 scores. You're fighting uphill the entire time. You don't want to be fighting uphill the entire time in a playoff game. You want to jump out early. You want to put some pressure on Lamar Jackson, because trust me, if the Baltimore Ravens fall behind quickly in this ball game, particularly if they fall behind by 1 or 2 scores, they're going to tense up. They're going to get nervous. They're going to start feeling the pressure, because all the pressure this week is on Lamar Jackson. As we mentioned, all the media is talking about, can Lamar Jackson win a playoff game? Can the Baltimore Ravens move on to the second round? If the Ravens lose today, will they give Lamar Jackson a contract extension like Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson? So there is a lot of pressure on the Ravens today. The Titans, we're playing with house money, so to speak. We're at home. We're an underdog. Just like the entire week, no one expects the Titans to win this ball game here today. So another thing that we mentioned, we're going to look for the slow starts. We're going to see what happens there, and hopefully the Titans can get off to a good start. Hopefully they can, keep this momentum going from the big win last week against Houston, and they can bring it home this afternoon. We're going to take a quick 30-second break. I'm going to see if the inactives are out yet. So give me 30 seconds. I'm going to check that inactive list. We'll be right back to look ahead. Titans, Ravens, playoff, special edition, back in 30 seconds. All right, guys, we're back, and we do have that inactive list for the Tennessee Titans. So inactive today, running back, Sonoris Perry, running back, Deontay Foreman. I would like to see Deontay Foreman more so than McNichols, honestly. I think Foreman gives a much stronger effort. McNichols is good as a pass protector, but he really hasn't done much over the second half of the season. But Deontay Foreman inactive today. Defensive backs, Chris Jackson and Kareem Orr, also inactive today. Outside linebacker, Derek Roberson is inactive today. That is huge. Roberson practiced all week. He's the bookend outside linebacker now with Clowney and Beasley being gone. He was supposed to be that second guy to step up on the other side of Harold Landry. But Derek Roberson will be out today, I believe, for the 3rd consecutive week. He has a hamstring injury. So we will get more of Brooks Reed, the former Texan who had a sack last week. More of Wyatt Ray today as well at the outside linebacker position. So again, the inactives for the Titans today: running backs, Sonoris Perry, Deontay Foreman; defensive backs, Chris Jackson and Kareem Orr; outside linebacker, Derek Roberson, also inactive today. So again, the big one out of that group is Derek Roberson not being available for the ball game here this afternoon. Now, let's go ahead and look at some of the keys to the game. Before we turn it over to the networks at the top of the hour, let you guys get their perspective on the game. But now we're going to go ahead and look at some of the keys to the game for this ball game this afternoon. And here are some of my keys to the ball game here this afternoon. And of course, guys, while you're in the house, please leave your comments. We will have times for questions, answering your questions, getting your comments on the board. But also do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button down to the right, hit that like button on the video, tell your friends about the channel, and then go ahead and hit that notification button as well. And then also you guys can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Kmore Sports. Same handle here is the YouTube channel. On Instagram at Kenmore Sports. But let's go ahead and look at some of these keys to the game. As we mentioned, the Titans have to get off to a fast start. You just saw the graphic a moment ago where when we get off to slow starts, we typically do not come back and win the ball game. But when we get off the fast starts, we typically don't lose the ball game. So we'll be able to tell the tenor of this ball game in the first 1 to 2 possessions of the ball game. Second key, we need to win the time of possession. Unless we're getting quick strike scores with bombs to Corey Davis or A.J. Brown or big runs by Derrick Henry, we need to put together some nice 7 to 10 play time possession drives to try to win the time of possession. The more we have the football on our hands, the more our defense is on the sideline. So that's going to be critical as well. Thirdly, we have to force Lamar Jackson into mistakes. In each of the last 2 ball games against the Titans, Lamar Jackson has had critical fumbles at inopportune times. He's had critical interceptions at inopportune times. He had a big interception in the third quarter of that game a few weeks ago when we played them in the regular season. So forcing Lamar Jackson into mistakes, getting some turnovers, winning the turnover battle, those are going to be some critical elements as well. And finally, Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith is going to have to be huge today with making adjustments. Coach Mike Vrabel, defensively, he's going to have to be huge today, making adjustments. You cannot come in with the exact same game plan that you had the previous 2 times against the Ravens. The Ravens are going to do some things differently today. What will the Titans do differently today? Those are going to determine who wins this football game. So again, recapping the keys, we have to get off to a fast start. We have to win the time of possession unless we're getting quick strikes from the offense. We cannot afford to have 3-and-out possessions. We have to force Lamar Jackson into mistakes, and Arthur Smith, Arthur's adjustments, Mike Vrabel's adjustments, those are going to be key in this ball game here this afternoon. Let's see if we got some more comments in the section. We got my boys Two-Tone Zone in the house. Thanks, guys, for coming in. We appreciate the love, appreciate the support. We're looking for a big victory here today. And yeah, man, I'm trying to drop it in this morning. Again, we're a little bit out of our element, but it's a special day. It's a special show. We had to get it in this morning, give you guys the keys to the game, let you know who the inactives are, who's playing today, who's not playing today. We want you guys to have all the Titan side of the information, because once the national broadcast start, it's going to be all about Lamar Jackson. It's going to be all about the Ravens. It's going to be all about Baltimore. It's not going to be a lot of Tennessee angles to this football game. So we wanted to come on this morning, give you guys the information that you desperately want, to hear, and then we'll be back tomorrow night for our normal show, Titans, the day after. We hope it will be talking about a Titans victory. If we win today, how the matchup's set for next week. Let's assume we win today. We're either going to be on the road in Kansas City or on the road in Buffalo next week. If the Steelers win tonight, which obviously they're a huge favorite over the Browns, then we would go to Kansas City next week. Likely that game would be on Sunday if we go to Kansas City. Not set in stone, but if we go to Kansas City, that game would likely be on Sunday. If Cleveland somehow surprises the Steelers tonight and win that game, then Cleveland would go to Kansas City, and then the Titans would go to Buffalo. That game would likely be the first game next Saturday afternoon, probably around 3 o'clock. So again, that's not set in stone, but more than likely, if the Titans and Steelers win today, the Titans would play the Chiefs next Sunday. If the Browns win tonight, then the Titans would likely play Buffalo next Saturday. So all in all, we just want to get the win today, and then we want to sit back, put our feet up, and watch the other teams battle it out the rest of this weekend. So again, I want to thank you guys for joining me this morning. Thanks for getting up early, having a little coffee with me, getting this ball game in. We're ready to get started. We're about an hour and 20 minutes away from kickoff. Also, I noticed for the Ravens today, Mark Ingram is also inactive for Baltimore. That's really not a big deal for them because they've kind of moved off Mark Ingram. J.K. Dobbins is really their primary running back now. So he's the guy that you look to carry the rock a lot for Baltimore today. So keep an eye on J.K. Dobbins as well. And also Dez Bryant. I think Dez Bryant will be active for the Ravens today. So we'll see if they target Dez, if they try to get him involved in the red zone. So again, I want to thank you guys for joining. I know you guys are going to be switching over to NFL Network, ESPN, wherever you get your national broadcast from. But we wanted to make sure that we gave you guys all the information that you guys need here as Titans fans. And again, on the way out, guys, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like button. And then also, please hit that notification bell. That way you guys will know when my shows are airing. Typically, they're going to be on Mondays after the game, but as we get deeper into the playoffs, as we get into the off season, as breaking news occurs, we'll be able to bring that information to you so that you will have it. Once again, thank you. K Moore Sports special Titans playoff edition. Let's see if we got a couple of more comments in here before we get out of here. My boy Rocky is in the house. He comes in. No problem, Rocky. Hey, man, I'm glad I was able to get up this morning and bring the show to you guys. Tighten up, everybody. If there is a game next week, we will do the exact same thing. We'll bring you the pregame show. We'll bring you the numbers. We'll bring you all the information you need from the Titan side of it. So, again, thanks to everybody in the house. You guys go tighten up. Get your coffee, get your water, get your breakfast tacos, get your gear on, and let's go get ready to rock these Baltimore Ravens. Thank you, everyone, for joining in today. Again, we will see you Monday night for our normal show, Titans, the day after. Tighten up, everybody. Good luck, Tennessee.